Good day, everyone. We are the fourth group consisting of I, student number 8, Cruz Rombert, along with number 28, Rania Rosario, number 29, Salazar Rel, number 38, Dizon Sebastian, and number 41, Sogilon Lara. Today, we will be discussing the topic the need of internet and internet for e-commerce. Now, living in the present day, we are fully aware that modernization created numerous discoveries and developments that are in no doubt uplifting the lives of mankind, including what we greatly utilize today, the internet and the web. Indeed, the internet has revolutionized the PC and communications world like never before. The invention of the telegraph, telephone, radio, and laptop set the stage for this new integration of capabilities. The web is a worldwide broadcasting capability, a mechanism for information dissemination, and a medium for collaboration and interaction between people through computers, regardless of their physical locations. But before we dig deeper into the topic, here's a short video clip that will allow you to have an overview of what really is the internet.
What is the internet?
The internet is like a popular thing.
Some satellites up there.
I picture in my head with like waves of internet going to the phone.
Somebody told me a cloud once.
The internet is a lot like plumbing, it's always moving.
Most people don't have any idea where the internet came from, and it doesn't matter. They don't need to. It's sort of like asking who invented the ballpoint pen or the flush toilet or, the zipper. These are all things that we just use every day, and we don't even think about the fact that one day somebody invented them. So the internet is just like that. Many, many years ago, in the early 1970s, my partner Bob Kahn and I began working on the design of what we now call the internet. It was a result of another experiment called the ARPANET, which stood for Advanced Research Projects Agency Network. It was a Defense Department research project. Paul Barron was trying to figure out how to build a communication system that might actually survive a nuclear attack. So he had this idea of breaking messages up into blocks and sending them as fast as possible in every possible direction through the mesh network. So we built what eventually became a nationwide experimental packet network, and it worked. Is anybody in charge of the internet?
The government controls it.
Elves, obviously elves.
The people who control the Wi-Fi, because then no Wi-Fi, no internet. T-Mobile, Xfinity,
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. Right?
The honest answer is, well, nobody, and maybe another answer is everybody. The real answer is that the internet is made up of an incredibly large number of independently operated networks. What's interesting about the system is that it's fully distributed. There's no central control that's deciding how packets are routed or where pieces of network are built or even who interconnects with whom. These are all business decisions that are made independently by the operators. They are all motivated to assure that there is end-to-end connectivity of every part of the network, because the utility of the net is that any device can communicate with any other device, just like you want to be able to make phone calls to any other telephone in the world. There's nothing like this that has ever been built before. The idea that what you know might be useful to somebody else, or vice versa, is a very powerful motivator for sharing information. By the way, that's how science gets done. People share information. So this is an opportunity for people to think up new applications, maybe program them as apps on a mobile phone, maybe become part of the continued growth of the infrastructure of the network to bring it to people that don't have access to it yet, or just make use of it on a day-to-day basis. You can't escape from contact with the internet, so why not get to know it and use it?
After watching the video, we can say that the internet may be an international network of computers that enables individuals to send emails, read websites, transfer files like MP3 and pictures, chat, post messages on news groups and forums, and do much more. Moving forward, the web was created by the Advanced Analysis Agency, or the ARPA, of the US government in the 1960s and was initially called the ARPANET. At this stage, the Internet's initial computers were at educational and government establishments and were mainly used for accessing the files and sending emails. From 1983, the web as we all know it began to come into play with the introduction of the TCP or IP communication protocol to ARPANET. Since 1983, the web has accommodated loads of changes and continues to develop. The last 20 years have seen it accommodate things like local area networks, ATM, and frame switch services. It continues to evolve and now can be accessed on mobile phones and pagers. The actual term Internet was outlined in 1995 by FNC, or the Federal Networking Council. In keeping with the Federal Networking Council, web refers to the worldwide system that is logically connected by a globally distinctive address area supported by the web protocol, or the IP, or its resulting extensions or follow-ons. The web is ready to support communications mistreatment transmission management. The protocol, or the Internet Protocol, also known as the TCP or IP, suit or its resulting extensions or follow-ons, and or alternative IP-compatible protocols. Lastly, it provides, uses, or makes accessible, either in public or private, high-level services superimposed on the communications and connected infrastructure represented herein. Now, let's deal with the basics of the web, starting with the question, who runs the internet? Many of us are curious, who controls the internet, the cloud, the network of networks? Well, the answer is no one, because the internet is institutional and anti-institutional at the same time, huge and intimate, organized and chaotic. It may be a global cooperative endeavor, with its member networks kicking in cash, hardware, maintenance, and tactical experience. The US government has had an enormous influence on the federally funded elements of the web. The National Science Foundation, or the NSF, initiated the NSF-Net within the mid-1980s, a nationwide backbone within the US that connected several middle-level networks that successively connected universities and alternative organizations. However, the NSF-Net production backbone is being phased out, and the property is going to be offered by alternative suppliers as well as industrial networks. But you will still see the independent agency and its influence on the web. So, moving on, we will be showing a video tackling some basic information about IP address and the DNS, which will be our next discussion after. So here's the clip.
Hi, my name is Paula and I am a software engineer at Microsoft. Let's talk about how the internet works. My job relies on networks being able to talk with one another. But back in the 1970s, there was no standard method for this. It took the work of Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn to invent the Internet Working Protocol to make communication possible. This invention laid the groundwork for what we now call the Internet.
The Internet is a network of networks. It links billions of devices together all around the globe. So maybe you're connected with a laptop or a phone through Wi-Fi, But then that Wi-Fi connection connects to an internet service provider, or ISP, and that ISP connects you to billions and billions of devices around the world through hundreds of thousands of networks that are all interconnected. One thing that most people do not appreciate is that the internet is really a design philosophy and an architecture expressed in a set of protocols. A protocol is a well-known set of rules and standards that, if all parties agree to use it, will allow them to communicate without trouble. How the internet actually physically works is less important than the fact that this design philosophy has allowed the internet to adapt and absorb new communication technologies. This is because in order for a new technology to use the internet in some fashion, it just needs to know which protocols to work with. All the different devices on the internet have unique addresses. An address on the internet is just a number, similar to a phone number or a sort of street address that's unique to each computer or device at the edge of the network. This is similar to how most homes and businesses have a mailing address. You don't need to know a person to send them a letter in the mail, but you do need to know their address and how to write the address properly so the letter can be carried by the mail system to its destination. The addressing system for computers on the internet is similar, and it forms part of one of the most important protocols used in internet communication, simply called the Internet Protocol, or IP. A computer's address then is called its IP address. Visiting a website is really just your computer asking another computer for information. Your computer sends a message to the other computer's IP address, and it also sends along its origin address so the other computer knows where to send its response.
You may have seen an IP address. It's just a bunch of numbers. These numbers are organized in a hierarchy. Just like a home address has a country, a city, a street, and a house number, an IP address has many parts. Just like all digital data, each of these numbers is represented in bits. Traditional IP addresses are 32 bits long, with 8 bits for each part of the address. The earlier numbers usually identify the country and regional network of the device. Then come the subnetworks, and then finally the address of the specific device. This version of IP addressing is called IPv4. It was designed in 1973 and widely adopted in the early 80s, and provides for more than 4 billion unique addresses for devices connecting to the internet. But the internet has turned out to be much more popular than even Vint Cerf imagined, and 4 billion unique addresses won't be enough. We're now in the middle of a multi-year transition to a longer IP address format called IPv6, which uses 128 bits per address and provides over 340 undecillion unique addresses. That's more than enough for every grain of sand on Earth to have its own IP address.
Most users never see or care about internet addresses. A system called the Domain Name System, or DNS, associates names like www.example.com with the corresponding addresses. Your computer uses the DNS to look up domain names and get the associated IP address, which is used to connect your computer to the destination on the internet.
And it goes a little something like this.
Hey, hi there. I want to go to www.code.org.
Yeah, I don't know the IP address for that domain. Let me ask around. Hey, you know how to get to code.org?
Yeah, I got it right here. It's 174.129.14.120.
Oh, okay, great, thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna write that down and save it for later in case I need it. Hey, here's that address you wanted.
Awesome, thank you.
So how do we design a system for billions of devices to find any one of billions of different websites? There is no way one DNS server can handle all the requests from all devices. The answer is that DNS servers are connected in a distributed hierarchy and are divided into zones, splitting up responsibility for the major domains, such as .org, .com, .net, etc. DNS was originally created to be an open and public communication protocol for government and educational institutions. Because of its openness, DNS is susceptible to cyber attacks. An example attack is DNS spoofing. That's when a hacker taps into a DNS server and changes it to match a domain name with the wrong IP address. This lets the attacker send people to an imposter website. If this happens to you, you are vulnerable for more problems because you are using that fake website as if it is real. The internet is huge and getting bigger every day, but the domain name system and internet protocol are designed to scale, no matter how much the internet grows.
So now, dealing with names and addresses, if you have ever traveled to a country where you could not get the road signs or understand how they numbered the houses, you may perceive the knowledge of learning the internet's name and address system. Most computers on the web are known in two ways. Every laptop or host encompasses a name and a numerical address. Both are unique. Most are set by our names or numerically by our phone numbers. It's easier to recollect a reputation than a signal, and it is the same on the web. An online laptop name is sometimes several words separated by periods, like yahoo.com. An online address, technically the Associate in Nursing Information Processing address, is 4 numbers separated by periods. For instance, 161.44.128.70. When you are expressing these names and addresses aloud, you must substitute dot for the period to sound like you belong. The idea is for people to use the computer's names while accessing resources and let the computers and routers work with the knowledge processing addresses. Every internet-connected organization keeps knowledge of the names and addresses of all the computers connected to its networks. As a result, there are numerous computers online and no real central authority, so name assignment is best left to the native networks. There is a way to those names and addresses, a naming system called the Domain Name System or DNS. The DNS is the worldwide system of distributed databases of names and addresses. These databases offer translation from names to numbers and a kind of international agency of computers. DNS names are created in a graded naming fashion that you can consider as a worldwide chart. At the highest point in this chart are commanding specifications like edu for educational, com for commercial, gov for government, mil for military, org for organizations, internet for networks, and 2-letter country codes like US for the United States and CH for the European nations. An organization will register for a site name, choosing one in every commanding specification that describes it best, and then proceeding to create a recognizable version of its name. For instance, the Fundamental Principal Package Systems Company can have a site name like fundamentalprinciple.com. From there, it will divide itself into subdomains, extending the chart to department levels, or it will simply provide all its computer names within the fundamentalprinciple.com domain. Once you understand how this naming system works, you'll remember names more easily, and you can also tell some things about the computer, like the organization it belongs to. The names don't, however, always indicate geographical location. Many U.S. organizations and corporations use the 3-letter designations, for example, edu, com, and org. However, most countries have stipulated that organizations use their 2-letter country codes for top-level domains. For instance, an actual computer name QuakeThink.com refers to a billboard or COM Enterprise. The computer's name is Quake, and it belongs to Thinking Machines Corporation, which is the Think, a supercomputer manufacturer in the US. Another example is a computer at the Fujitsu Company in Japan, wherein JP is the two-letter kanji code for Japan.
I'm number 38, here to present the advantages of the web. Now, there are several benefits of using the internet, and today we'll discuss 12 of those. The first is email. Email is currently a vital communication tool for businesses. It's also helpful for staying in touch with family and friends. The advantage of emailing is that it's free, which means no charge per use, unlike phones, faxes, and other communication services. Next, we have information. There is an enormous quantity of data accessible on the internet for almost every subject known to man, from government law and services to trade fairs and conferences, market data, new concepts, and even technical support. For number three, we have services. Many services are currently provided online, like online banking, job seeking and applications, and edifice reservations. Typically, these services don't seem to be accessible offline or just cost more. We also have buying or selling of merchandise. The internet can be used for the purchase and sale of merchandise across the globe. Another benefit is that all communities have access to the internet, resulting in the convergence of individuals of different interests to discuss common problems. Next would be that the internet curates a leading edge image. Presenting your company or organization as leading edge shows your existing and prospective customers that you are financially sturdy, technologically savvy, and prepared for the challenges of the 21st century. It also shows that you care enough about your customers in regards to an advantage of recent technologies for his or her profit. Finally, you have the resources to support your shoppers in the most useful manner. Also, advertisers are looking at online mediums more than TV, radio, magazines, and newspapers. That could be the time to avoid enjoying catch up later. In number 7, we have improved client service. Companies are accessible to their customers 24/7. Whenever the client wants data about the company and its merchandise or services, they'll access the company's web content. Now, for market enlargement, the internet can be viewed as a world system. The latest estimates are that there are around 40 million individuals with access to the internet, and that number is growing daily. By merely posting an online page, you're addressing international markets. The next benefit would be low price selling. Imagine developing a full color folder without having to incur the costs of proofs, printers, wasted paper, times between revisions, and everything else. Then imagine a full color product or services folder that's interactive and includes text, graphics, audio, and or video. One that may be updated without the same old prices of product material updates. For a token initial investment, your company or organization is bestowed to scores of web users worldwide. It's sort of a virtual folder in everyone's hands without the associated costs. Next, we have low price commerce. Without the value of direct commerce, potential customers get data about your merchandise or services at any time, and they can easily order your merchandise over the internet or request more data to be sent to them by searching for your web content. Second to the last benefit is lower communication prices. Your time and your workers' time is valuable. Most businesses and organizations spend time responding to multiple identical queries, but you can build common answers on an online page accessible to everybody. You can also update your web page with new data quickly and easily. Last but not least is value selling. Here you can use your web content to produce data about your specific business, product, or uses. any variety of data that you simply believe would be valuable to your client is often enclosed in your web content to encourage guests to visit your website. You can also offer straightforward links to alternative sites with data that will be useful to your customers. The next topic is the need for the web. The basic requirements for connecting the PC system to the internet are often classified into two categories. The first category is the hardware demand. Users will use any of the computer models coming back these days. For example, Intel Celeron, Intel Pi, Intel P2, Intel P3, Intel P4, AMD K6, Cyrix M2, and etc. The 350 MHz and higher processor provides an honest performance. Your laptop must have a minimum of 16 megabytes RAM for smart navigation on the internet. The AGP card must have a minimum of 4 megabytes RAM of graphics, movies on that net effectively. One must have a phone line or ISDN or Integrated Services Digital Network affiliation. ISDN affiliation has additional information as compared to a phone line. Electronic equipment like for modulator or rectifier is also needed. The PC operates on digital signals whereas phone lines operate on analog signals. So, an extra piece of hardware or an electronic equipment is connected between the PC and the phone line. Electronic equipment converts the digital signals to analog and vice versa. Modems are constitutional or they can be connected externally. The modems in the market are from the businesses USAI, D-Link, and etc. Electronic equipment is often normal electronic equipment or fax voice electronic equipment, which can also carry voice on the internet. The next category is the software demand. We should have connecting software packages and applications program software package. The web is often referred to as upon by any software. For example, Windows 98, Windows NT, Linux, Unix, etc. After ensuring that one has the basic essentials, the following software packages are required for a quality experience online. These are the following: antivirus, anti-worm, firewall, system utilities, download accelerator or get right like software package, compression and uncompressing utilities, Adobe Athlete Reader, Macromedia Flash, and last, the email configuring software packages like MS Outlook, Web Messenger, and etc.
This is class number 41 taking over. To proceed, there are different types of ISP. The Internet Service Provider is a company that you dial up to get on the Internet. There are four different kinds of ISPs. First, there is national companies that offer services throughout the country. Their number one provider is BSNL. Some of its advantages are that if you travel often or move, you can still access the internet at your new location, and the extra services like chat rooms are a bonus. Sometimes you get busy signals when trying to access them. If you don't use the services, it is a waste of money if there are additional charges, and even if you buy an unlimited account, some will send you notices after a point. Next, specialized companies that offer a service like filtering. Some of its providers are Reliance, Airtel, Dishnet DSL, Satyam Infoways, and HCL Infinet. For companies like this, you will not have to update your filtering software. However, in some cases, the roaming facility of the account is unavailable and technical support may be limited. And lastly, local ISPs. These are the small companies that offer internet connection to small area. You can check your telephone directory or yellow pages under internet services to see some of its providers. They usually has less error prone and fewer disconnections and offers a local dial-up number if you are in a rural area and doesn't have local dial-up numbers for the major providers. Yet they may have limited equipment to offer a good internet speed and they may offer limited web guidance.
Hi, I'm class number 29 and I will now discuss the types of ISP accounts. So, there are many types of connections a user can get on the internet depending on the type of use and the resources available, such as money or internet connections available in your place. So, the different types of connections, their advantages, and their limitations have been discussed further. Regardless of the type of connection you go for, it should be reliable, fast, easily available, and economical, especially now that we mostly rely on the internet every day of our lives. However, even though the internet is a necessity now, there is no free connection to the internet, as someone somewhere has to pay for the equipment, software, or telephone lines and electricity. So there are seven types of connections to the internet. First one is the dial-up connection. So as the name suggests, a dial-up link means you have to dial into a modem over a telephone line before you are connected to the internet. So a modem is a device that converts digital signals emitting from the computer into analog signals so that the data is easily transmitted over analog telephone lines. At the receiving end, there is another modem that converts these analog signals back to the digital form, which are received by the target computer. So, for this type of connection, you require a computer that has a good configuration, the ability for applications to support command clicking of URLs or the links displayed anywhere on screen and have the URLs sent to the user selected application. The communication software, like a dialer, is provided by the internet connection provider and you will need a telephone line. So modem and other requirements are required. So you will be needing a modem that I think the optimal speed is 36.6 kbps, the minimum. But these days we use modems of speed up to 56 kbps. But I think this is still kind of low because we have higher kbps now. So the other requirements include softwares like a browser, email program, newsgroup reader, and Express, and etc. So by the way, Outlook Express is a software that helps read news and mail offline once they have been collected online. So there are three major ways to establish a link to the internet using a dial-up connection, namely host terminal connection or the terminal emulation. So in the case of host terminal affiliation, a computer is connected to a web host via equipment and an emulation program is run. In other words, you are connected to an oversized PC or computer that is connected online. So if you wish to transfer a file, the file is downloaded to the host and not to your PC. To transfer a file from the host to your PC, you must possess a specific software package. So during this type of affiliation, you will transfer only text and not graphics. So a bunch of terminal affiliation is also observed as a shell account. So this account is best suitable for students with a small budget and their demands are prescribed to text, users of the United Nations agency who want to connect via telnet programs, or who wish to use the internet to access the network of their work from their home using their personal accounts, users who don't use the internet very often, and jobs where multitasking isn't needed. So this affiliation permits only one task at a time, like the users cannot browse the news while transferring a file. So there are three types of accounts. So this type of an affiliation offers three types of accounts based on your distance from the ISP and the nature of labor that you wish for the affiliation. We have native dial, public information network, and restricted access account. So for the native dial, it is the most cost-effective type and is merely attainable if the host is at a neighborhood telephone distance away. So, dapat malapit sa'yo. Next is public information network. So if the host here isn't within the neighborhood, long distance calls must be remodeled to public information networks. So if the speed of such networks is slow, information transmission speed will be slow and the affiliation will be costlier. And the last one is the restricted access account. So the restricted access account is best if you wish to only access your email or news groups. So there are sites that offer cheap email accounts, native bulletin board services, and etc. And you must register to pay just for the services you wish to use. The second way to establish a link to the internet using a dial-up connection is the individual computer. So here, your personal computer will work as a web host. For example, direct downloading of files and emails is done once it's connected to the web. This sort of link could be more expensive than the host terminal affiliation, as you must pay a monthly fee to the service supplier or typically even a flat charge for a particular amount of your time. Here, you'll have one or each of the following accounts: the Serial Line Web Protocol or SLIP and the Purpose to Purpose Protocol or the PPP. So, in the Serial Line Web Protocol, information is distributed in packets in speeds below 9,600 bits per second on phone lines using information compression protocols. For the purpose to purpose protocol, in the case of surgical procedure, information is distributed over phone lines via electronic equipment. So, double checking is completed at the destination to examine if the information packets have arrived intact. This is often higher than the SLIP because it permits the authentication of users. Of late, surgical procedure connections have become common. So again, the speed of knowledge transfer in a surgical procedure is higher than in SLIP. So this type of affiliation is beneficial for individuals who use graphics, who transfer files typically, who use direct email or other online services, and who use the web often but for restricted hours. So there are a few limitations as well, like one might be unable to access the web simply if the space prescribed or if the road is low. For example, speeds below 28.8 kbps won't be accessible. The third way to establish a link to the internet using a dial-up connection is the dial-up or on-demand through the local area network or the LAN. So in this case, there's a dial-up link from the local area network that you're connected to. Such an affiliation is favorable for small businesses, homes, and academic institutes. So here, the server dials up for affiliation on demand, and once the affiliation is established, everyone logged onto the local area network will access the web. In such a scenario, any file downloaded from the web, like several other files, this file is accessible to all or any local area network purchasers. The sole downside here is that the higher the number of users logged onto the local area network, the slower is the connection. However, there is often victorious if you've got a really quick server software package and a really quick line. Again, additional software packages like proxy servers are needed to serve the wants of assorted individual local area network users with one web affiliation. The second type of connections to the internet is the Integrated Services Digital Network or the ISDN connection or affiliation. So this is a high-speed affiliation to the web over the traditional phone line. It combines voice and a digital data in a single medium, creating it attainable to supply the purchasers with digital as well as voice connections. So in this affiliation, the data distributed from your personal computer to the web is digital. Here we have a tendency not to use standard electronic equipment as no conversion from analog to digital or the other way around is needed. We have a tendency to use the associate in nursing ISDN electronic equipment that is simply a terminal adapter. Another distinction lies in the undeniable fact that the ISDN lines need power from outside. So once there is an influence ending, ISDN lines won't work. ISDN service has several variations, but we have to follow the basic rate interface or the BRI service. Apart from voice, several word side services are offered like Telephones can shortly have the power to show name, address, and signaling of the caller when the phone rings. So once the phone is connected to the PC, the caller's information record is displayed on the computer. So there, the telephone facility, remote electricity meter reading services, and smoke alarms that mechanically alert the hospital, station, or police office. So the advantages of using ISDN is that it permits high-speed access like 128 kbps. The current copper phone cables work fine, and it is used for voice, data, graphics, and full motion video as the speed of information transfer is high. The only disadvantage of using ISDN is that it proves to be fashionable affair as special instrumentation is needed, which means the tariff is high. The third type of connections to the internet is the hired line affiliation or the dedicated connection. So, as the name suggests, a hired line affiliation could be a permanent affiliation ordered down between you and the electronic equipment. As it is for good lines, you have got 24/7 access to the web. A hired line affiliation is extremely helpful, especially if frequent data needs to be accessed from the web and the amount of knowledge transfer is high. It is also very helpful if the web is to be used for at least 12 hours daily. This type of connection is the most reliable and fast, and the only issue is the cost. So, the cost includes one time installation, the installation of the physical line up to the site, yearly or periodical maintenance charges, annual tariff, and the required one time hardware, software, and other charges. The fourth type of connections to the internet is the cable modem. So in this case, the web is often accessed through the traditional coaxial television cables with the assistance of cable modems. The speed of cable modems is 10 to 100 times faster than the dial up connection modems. But the catch here is that the local cable operator should have the potential to access the web over cable TV wires, due to which cable modems are slightly more expensive than normal modems. The advantage here is that you don't need a telephone line if you would like this type of connection. The fifth type of connections to internet is the DSL or the digital telephone line service. It is provided through the prevailing telephone line, but it works different from regular analog modem dial-up access. The DSL operates over normal telephone lines and is often used simultaneously with the phone. DSL can increase the connection speed tenfold as compared to a typical dial-up modem. So the sixth type of connections to the internet is the broadband. This type of access is sweet for remote locations where ISDN cable or DSL aren't available. It gives a decent download speed, but users still need an analog modem to dial in via a telephone line to upload data. Satellite connections are two-way or one-way services. In the case of a two-way satellite service, information is transmitted via satellite to a dish at the user's house. In a one-way system, the user needs a standard modem and a telephone link to an ISP. Sometimes satellite connection is the only fast option for people beyond the topographic point of cable and DSL providers. The seventh type of connections to the internet is the very small aperture terminals or the VSATs. The two ground stations that communicate with each other via satellites need not be an equivalent size or transmit data with an equivalent amount of power. Many satellite networks use a number of small dishes called very small aperture terminals or VSATs for the outlying nodes and a central hub with an enormous dish that will transmit very powerful signals and is extremely sensitive to incoming ones. So this technique minimizes the value of the bulk of the bottom stations at the expense of maintaining a big one, which may be shared by several users. However, this approach can cause additional delays as the VSATs aren't powerful enough to speak to one another directly through the satellite. The messages must undergo the hub and make two trips into space before reaching their final destination, incurring a double delay. So these are typically employed by the organizations like all companies that need data or voice communications between sites distributed over a good geographic area. Terrestrial links are economical over short distances. Their costs climb quickly because of the distance between location increases. Additionally, terrestrial data and voice links are readily available in cities, but they are often difficult, if not impossible, to get in smaller and remote areas using these links. So, the most popular type of connection for an individual is the broadband connection, as it is easily available and economical.
I am Rosario Rania, number 28, and I am here to help you select an internet service provider. So before choosing an ISP, it's important to assess your company's business and marketing goals. In other words, you must determine what your organization will be using the web for. So once you've determined this, you can contact ISPs that serve your geographical area and ask them about their services. Here are actually some questions that users should ask when choosing an ISP. This could be divided into three main categories: general, connection, and cost. For general, this answers the what questions, such as what sort of connections are available in your geographic area, what equipment is important to determine a connection, does the ISP provide installation software, what technical support can you expect, what additional perks are offered with each package. Moving on to connection. These questions are more on the technical side of choosing an ISP. So first, is the dial-up number billed as an area called? Does the ISP provide alternate local dial-up numbers? Is remote service for regional, national, or international available? What sort of connection speed can you expect? How often can you expect busy signals? And what is the service's expected uptime? Lastly, for cost, this answers the how much question. What payment options are available? Is there an initial connection fee? Can the type of connection be changed without a penalty? How will your connection time be charged? Are annual subscriptions offered at discounted prices? Are there other possible charges? And so on. So many of these questions can only be answered after trying the services. So it really is highly recommended to request a trial from your chosen ISP to evaluate its performance before signing up with them, since this is quite an investment as well. So moving on to web hosting. Most corporations that provide net hosting services can offer basic packages that can be changed to accommodate your specific requirements. Requesting and comparing this data could be a sensible place to start when searching for net hosting services. The following list outlines some necessary queries that must be answered before you make a decision. This again is divided into three categories: general, services, and costs. First is general. How much information is out there to transfer and download? This refers to data transfer. Does the ISP allow business networking sites? And which operating systems do they support? So this includes Microsoft, Unix, etc. Second is services. Are web-based tools accessible for website maintenance and configuration? Which internet technologies are supported? This includes databases, programming environments, etc. And what technical support can you expect? Lastly, costs. Is there a charge for adding or removing features? What's the value of every additional feature, such as databases, further email addresses, etc.? So be cautious of comparatively low publicized costs when selecting a corporation to host your computing device. These low costs are typically offset by additional prices for basic services or are indicative of poor performance. So you'll also need to go to some sites hosted by the corporation to determine how they perform. Speaking of ISPs, let's now talk about the internet service providers in the Philippines. So this is the million-dollar question. Why is the internet in the Philippines slow and expensive? Our country is an archipelago made up of over 7,100 islands, which makes construction of fixed networks harder to accomplish. This slow development in the addition of new ICT infrastructures such as cell towers, fiber optic cables, and others is what is believed to be the main reason for the poor internet connection here. It should also be noted as well that our government, compared to our neighboring countries, actively invests in the construction of these much needed infrastructures, while here in our country, the private sector took up this task. And speaking of neighboring countries, Vietnam receives crucial ICT investments from their government. That's why they enjoy better internet speeds. Actually, there have been reports of a third major telco player buzzing. Some of us may have already been using their SIM cards. And yes, I am talking about Ditto. Before, they were actually called Miss Latel, if I'm not mistaken. But for now, we can only cross our fingers that this new player brings us the much needed boost and improvement so that everyone can enjoy affordable, fast, and reliable internet services, especially since a lot of our everyday activities involve internet usage. So, who are the top internet service providers here in the Philippines? First on the list is Converge ICT Solutions. I know some of us here use Converge and may have different experiences with this ISP. They are actually one of the fastest growing ISPs. Converge has established itself as an excellent option when it comes to high-speed internet. Again, some of us may have different experiences with them, but personally, I don't have any because we're Globe users here at home. So Converge offers a wide selection of plans that starts at only 1,500 pesos monthly for speeds of 25 Mbps. To be honest, I am not a techie person, but I do think 25 Mbps is enough, especially if it's just for personal use and you don't share it with anyone. However, if you are pursuing a career, maybe in content creation, or maybe you're a streamer or a gamer, or maybe even a virtual assistant, getting a plan that has higher Mbps is advisable. Speaking of, what are the pros in choosing Converge? First is they have pure end-to-end fiber optic connectivity for the price of a postpaid DSL connection. Second is they are the highest ranking among ISPs in the Philippines in terms of Netflix performance. So like I said, if it's for personal use or for streaming movies, it's good. Third is they provide the best value for money with the Fiber X 1500 plan. This again is the 25 Mbps for 1,500 pesos monthly. Fourth is they have no monthly data cap for all plans. And lastly, fully online application process through the Converge self-serve portal. Now that we've listed down the pros, let's move on to the cons of choosing Converge. First is they do have limited coverage areas, mostly available only in Metro Manila and nearby provinces such as Cavite, Pampanga, Rizal, and others. Second is difficulty of reaching a customer service representative through the Converge hotline. Third is a 24-month lock-in period. And lastly, they do not have landline or cable service or any freebie bundled with the internet plan. So if you're looking for an ISP that already offers landline or cable with their internet plan, maybe the next ISP is for you. Another top internet service provider in the Philippines is One Sky. Being the country's top and longest operating cable TV provider allowed the company to expand its reach to internet services. They bundled up their cable offerings with broadband services and came up with packages that provide plenty of value to their subscribers. So, pros of choosing One Sky are they offer cheapest unlimited fiber plan at 999 pesos per month for 10 Mbps, or you could opt to 5 Mbps with HD cable TV. The 10 Mbps is relatively lower than the 25 Mbps that Converge offers, but this plan is for only 999 pesos, that's per month, and already includes cable TV. Second is some broadband plans bundled with either Sky on-demand box for HD cable TV, or you could opt to the TP-Link Wi-Fi mesh for home Wi-Fi. Third is Sky Fiber only broadband plans 999, 1499, and 1999 bundled with HD TV service. So you have free access to local TV channels and I want streaming. And lastly, they also do not have monthly data cap for all plans. Now moving on to the cons, they use a combination of fiber optics and coaxial cable to provide fiber-powered internet instead of pure fiber optics. And like Converge, they do have limited coverage areas, mostly available only in Metro Manila, some parts of Luzon, such as Batangas, Bulacan, Cavite, Rizal, and a few provinces in the south, namely Cebu, Davao, and others. Now moving on to the next internet service provider.
Thank you, Ms. Rania, for introducing us the first two internet service providers in the Philippines. To continue, I'll start with PLDT. The telco giant has been around for decades. From dial-up connections to DSL, they are pioneers when it comes to providing internet services in the Philippines. PLDT claims that they have wide coverage areas nationwide, Speed Test Awards winner for fixed network speed in the Philippines. Only fiber plans bundled with free landline, Fiber Plus plans bundled with signaled HD TV, including 8 HD channels and 55 SD channels, and whole home Wi-Fi with 3 TP-Link mesh devices for stable internet speeds and no dead spots, and no monthly data cap for all plans. Yet, I agree that they have the most expensive rates for plans with speeds of 10 Mbps and 100 Mbps, and they do really have a slow technical service that takes around 1 week to fix connectivity issues. The next is Dito Telecommunity. The Philippines now has a third major telco player. Dito Telecommunity has been launched in several areas in the country, receiving rave reviews for its internet speed and reliability. It comes with unlimited calls to Dito and 300 minutes to other mobile networks, offers unlimited text to all networks, and claims to have the highest minimum average speed. However, they are only available in key areas in the country. Such legacy networks, 2G and 3G, are not offered. Dito SIM cards only works in phones that have 4G and 5G connectivity and has a data cap. Next is Globe Broadband. The Ayala-owned communications company is Smart's under PLDT, longtime rival, and the competition continues in the land of broadband internet. They offer wide fiber availability nationwide. All only plans except for Plan 1699 come with freebies such Android TV box or 2 TP-Link Wi-Fi mesh, free unlimited landline, and globe-to-globe calls for 24 months, and free 3-month access to iWant and Amazon Prime Video. They also offer a plan with the fastest speed of up to 1 Gbps for 9,499 pesos. The cheapest and bang for the buck deals for plans with a speed of 100 Mbps and up, offers a no lockup option for go-only plans 2,499 and 2,899 with a 3-month trial period but with a one-time modem fee of 4,500 pesos and promptly action to restore the internet connection. On the other hand, Globe has the most expensive rates for plans with a speed of 50 Mbps or lower, has 24-month lock-in period for most plans, and requires proof of income for go-only plans 2,499 and 2,899. Sixth, RISE. RISE stands for Responsible Internet Sustainability Effort, a newcomer ISP that focuses on bringing fiber internet to enterprises. They promise uncongested, full-speed fiber internet for your business. And last but not the least, StreamTech. StreamTech is one of the Philippines' newest internet service providers. This upstart company prides itself on its unlimited high-speed internet plans, cable TV services through Planet Cable, and the cable TV and internet package deals. StreamTech is powered by its own fiber optic backbone link, which they state is a key factor in its ability to provide consistently fast speeds but at an affordable price point. The company offers internet plans for both residential and business customers in selected areas in the country with the eventual goal of operating nationwide. StreamTech may be a better fit right now for those on a budget as they offer a fiber internet plan for just 1,499 pesos a month with speeds of 25 Mbps. This is cheaper than PLDT's cheapest offering, which is 1,699 pesos a month, though PLDT offers speeds of 35 Mbps to make up for the price disparity. StreamTech might also be a better value proposition to customers who also need cable TV services with their internet connection, which the company offers in the value-added bundles. While StreamTech markets itself heavily as an up-and-coming ISP, none of their current offerings fares well when stacked against what more established ISPs can offer at every price point. The disparity becomes starker in the higher up you go in price.
As we come to an end, we can conclude that the internet is indeed one of the greatest discoveries of mankind. As of today, we can relate that it is evident and widely utilized, especially in the field of commerce. Starting the kick of the pandemic, almost every day or if not once a week or during promo periods, we tend to purchase things in Lazada, Shopee, or in other online stores that we preferred. Hence, with this kind of purchase behavior, we can notice the rise of e-commerce in the Philippines. As legal management students, wherein some of us may not continue to law school and decided to establish their own enterprise, knowing more about the internet and its necessity for the emerging trend in businesses will be very helpful for its success. Nonetheless, the key takeaway with this discussion is to know the basics of the internet and look for an internet service provider which suits your business and budget, of course, with the assurance that your daily business function won't suffer. Ensure that you just browse the ISP's contract first before you opt for it, as it will help you recognize what to expect in event of closure, merger, or if the standard of services doesn't meet your expectations. Again, this is Group 4, and thank you.